Along with ourselves, London-listed Destiny Pharma is based here at the Sussex Innovation Centre. Destiny is a clinical phase biotech company dedicated to the development of novel anti-infectives with a focus on infection prevention, and has 2 exciting late-stage clinical assets and a range of early research programs. Chief Executive Neil Clark joins me today. Neil, how are you?
I'm good. Good afternoon, Alan, and great to talk to you.
Good afternoon. Great to talk to you too. So to start with, I've got a slide here. Can you just provide viewers with a brief overview of the Destiny asset portfolio?
Of course, yes. And this is Destiny at a glance, and of course there's lots of information on our website, destinypharma.com. But we are at a very exciting phase, a UK biotechnology company with 2 late phase clinical stage assets. And what that means is that we have completed with our 2 lead assets all the phase 2 work that is required in their development, and we're now looking ahead at completing that development by undertaking phase 3 studies. And the 2 assets we have are XF73, which comes from our own XF platform, and that is targeting the prevention of post-surgical infections caused by a bacteria called Staphylococcus aureus, including MRSA, which people may have heard of. And that completed phase 2 very successfully earlier this year. And we also have another different product, which is also looking to prevent infections, but this is the prevention of the recurrence of an infection caused by a gut bacteria called Clostridioides difficile. It's difficult to say, but it's a C. diff, and that asset is NTCDM3, and we acquired that last December and did a funding. So we have 2 late-stage assets, which is, of course, key value drivers for the company. We also have some earlier assets from our XF platform, which we're developing. And indeed, we have another asset which is targeted at the prevention of COVID-19 and influenza, which is a government-backed project. We won a grant of £800,000 just over a year ago. And all of these earlier projects are progressing well, in addition to those 2 lead assets. But the 2 lead assets are the key drivers of the value of the company, as is to be expected. But late-stage assets means they've been de-risked by the earlier studies, but we do still want to carry out those last studies, and then hopefully the products can be launched on the market with partners.
I see. Well, Neil, like your founder, Dr. Bill Love, we've been here at the Innovation Centre for many years, and I know it's the XF73 developed to prevent post-surgical infections that really put Destiny on the map. You recently announced that your regional partner and investor, China Medical Systems, is establishing a new program with XF73 in China. Can you tell us about this and about XF73?
Yes, no, that's very exciting. Obviously, China Medical Systems are a multi-billion-dollar Chinese company listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. I can't talk for them, but obviously, we've made that press release, and they invested at the IPO back in 2017. They also invested and increased their holding at the funding we did last autumn. And again, they are big fans. We like to think of XF73. That's why they're investing. They like the company. But also, as you said, the really exciting move is that they are now, not only are they supporting us in our studies that we're carrying out in Europe and America, they're also now taking control of a study in a new indication. So there's a new program for Destiny Pharma, which they will run in China with their expertise. And it's for what we call sort of superficial skin infections. If you could imagine something perhaps similar to atopic dermatitis or impetigo or severe eczema, that type of ointment that we rubbed on the skin. That's a program they're looking to run, and we'll wait and see how that goes. But they're very good at what they do, so that's really good for us. And we have rights, as it were, for the rest of the world. So if they're successful in China, we can bring that to Europe and America. But the XF73 itself is obviously we have it taking forward as a nasal gel and now as a dermal program. It comes from the XF platform that Dr. Bill Love, the founder of Destiny, has discovered and worked on at the Innovation Centre alongside yourselves for 2 decades. But it's really is a very interesting set of compounds, and it's great that it's been recognised by China Medical Systems. They're only doing this work because they think that it has potential to be a new medicine, which is of course what we're all about.
Of course. Now, you recently acquired a late phase 2 trial stage asset, NTCDM3, which you mentioned in the summary at the start there, to prevent C. difficile. and I understand that phase 3 studies are imminent. Can you talk us through this?
Yes, so we acquired the package last December and did a funding of £10.5 million. We're now progressing the manufacturing. We need to scale up the manufacturing because as you enter phase 3, basically your whole package has to mature and be at sort of higher standards and higher volumes as you prepare, hopefully, for launch of a product. So it's going to take this year and into next year to finish that manufacturing. And we're also finalizing those phase 3 study design. So it's one phase 3, 800 patients. We've agreed that with the FDA, who are the American authorities, and we're looking to start that study next year. So there's still some time to go. I wouldn't perhaps say that starting the study is imminent, but it's definitely a key corporate goal, and we're well positioned to look to do that next year. And as part of that process with M3 and also XF73, we're a biotechnology company. We're looking for commercial partners as well to eventually launch the products, and we've got an active program there of discussions, and obviously that's a key corporate goal to help us run the phase 3s, fund the phase 3s, but also to sell the products eventually in the next few years.
Of course. Now, in the middle of COVID last year, you announced a joint venture called Spore COV with an old work colleague, I believe, to develop COVID immunity using the innate human immune system. You also received a grant from Innovate UK. Can you tell us about this and how it's progressing?
Yes, no. So Professor Simon Cutting from SporeGen, who are our collaborator, I was actually at school with him, so hadn't seen him for 30 years. Met him at a conference in San Francisco, but he works in this area of I guess biotherapeutics with bacteria, and he had the idea of a nasal spray using a bacterial formulation, and it acts as a trigger. You can imagine the virus gets in through the nose, but also that's where some of the protective sort of receptors are to trigger our immune system. And the idea is this nasal spray acts as an early trigger of the immune system to give us protection against not only COVID-19, but also influenza viruses. So we're running that project, as you said, grant funded. So again, a validation of the science. Why did Innovate UK award us an £800,000 grant in September last year? It's because they really like the project. And again, this is a collaboration, SporeGen and Destiny Pharma, and we're progressing that work this year. Results will come around the end of this year, but the project's going well. And if it's successful, we will then take that forward as a clinical project. And again, looking to develop an easy to use sort of nasal spray that could really add to our armory to prevent against, I'd say, not only COVID-19, but also influenza. So very exciting project, and watch this space for news later in the year.
Excellent. Okay, so onto a shareholder viewpoint now. Your shares are trading mid-range for the year. As you said earlier, you raised 11.5 million just under a year ago to fund the acquisition of NTCDM3. And in the recent interim results, you stated that the company was fully funded through to Q4 next year. What does the cash runway look like at present?
Yes, no, well, obviously, the interims are only last month, so nothing's really changed in that messaging. What we need to do, and we're very open talking about this, is to actually start and complete those phase 3 studies we're talking about for our lead assets. We will need to get those funded towards the end of by the end of next year. Now, that funding can come from a combination of partnerships, so classical partnerships in the biotechnology space. Obviously, the pharma partner gives you upfronts, milestones, and those can be used to fund the clinical studies. Obviously, we're a listed company. Potentially, we could use equity as well to contribute. And also there are non-dilutive funding routes, including grants, which we've won over £3.5 million worth of grants since the IPO. So we are looking to strengthen the balance sheet, obviously by the end of next year, to help us start those studies. But we have active campaigns across partnering, talking to investors, shareholders, and also other routes to non-dilutive funding. And one thing I'd say is that with these late stage assets, which are still drug development, but they have been de-risked by the work done to date. Of course, we can talk to different parties regarding those late stage partnerships. So it's an exciting place to be. Great late stage assets, and as you pointed out, some really exciting early programs, China dermal program and SporeCOV, our COVID-19. So some diversification, which spreads the risk, of course, across the portfolio.
Of course. Okay. Neil, this has been great hearing about Destiny. Before we wrap up, I'm going to bring up a slide here. Can you talk us through the value inflection points that investors should be looking for in the coming 6 months?
Yes, I think the key value inflection point obviously is it will be partnering potentially in terms of we're looking for partners across those lead programs, and clarity on the timing and detail of the studies for XF73 phase 3s. We're in discussions with the European regulators and also the US regulators, and that's something that we need to clarify the size and cost of those studies. But basically, it's moving forward with those 2 lead assets. In terms of clarifying the phase 3 timings and partnerships for those studies, and also I'd say data from the Sporkov research program and some other opportunities with the earlier pipeline. But really the focus from investors currently is really when and how we're going to start those phase 3 studies with M3 and XF73 nasal, which are those 2 lead assets, which obviously are the most advanced.
Well, we're certainly entering a potentially transformational phase for the company. Neil Clark, Chief Executive of Destiny Pharma, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks very much, Alan.